Alright, real talk time. I've been putting off shooting a video of these amps behind me for a long time. I wanted to get the riffs perfect. I wanted to get all the cinematography down. I wanted it to be the best video I've ever done, and if I keep putting it off, I'm never going to do it. So today I'm just setting up a couple cameras. All of those amps are hooked up and they are running through the Universal Audio aux box with a Mesa cabinet set up with two SM57 and a 121. Here is a screenshot of the general cab sound that I'm going to be using. The only thing that I'm going to tweak the entire video is I may add in some room mic sound to give you more of that amp, see what it sounds like in the room. No video anyone's ever going to do is going to exactly tell you what one of these amps is going to sound like with your cabinet and in your room. But we're just going to go through these, and the premise is I'm starting with all of these amps on 5 because I think starting with those settings, you're going to understand really what the soul of that amp is, and we will tweak and dial in from there to kind of get what I think may be the best tone possible in that amp, and we will go from there. So the 4 amps we are covering today are a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier Rev F, a Rev 100P, a Omega Obsidian, and a KSR Juno. Let's jump in and you can hear how recording guitars is hard and that my riffs are trash. This is all in good fun. Leave me all your feedback, your comments, and make sure to smash this subscribe button right here, and let's jump into it. So we're starting with the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, and right now all of the knobs are set to noon other than the gate knob, which I have sitting here around 1 o'clock. And this is what the standard tone sounds like. So there's gain there, but it is a little muddy. And it's dark. That's kind of the nature of the Mesa Boogie, and we've got that dual rectifier fizz there. The first thing that I would do in order to bring this into a more modern sounding amp is I'm going to crank that presence up and bring the treble up itself. I could probably dime those. I'm just going to bring those to around 9 o'clock, and you're going to immediately hear some additional clarity and some high end come out in this amp. Now we can also take some additional bass out of this amp. Just roll back that bass knob a little bit. But anyone that will tell you if you're running a dual rectifier, you should probably be running it for a boost if you want that high gain metal tone. So I've got my high wind Direwolf here. I've got that level set around 1 o'clock. The drive is off and tone is right in the middle. Now, right there you can probably hear kind of a high-pitched harmonic that's occurring. That's kind of what's going on in that boost itself. I'm going to roll some of this gain back. We can correct some of that with bringing the level up a little bit. So honestly, this is a pretty good representation of the dual rectifier. By nature, it is a dark amp. And, you know, in order to get into that true modern metal territory, you should probably be running a boost. But my favorite tone is kind of to turn that boost off and leave those EQs where we were. And it's kind of that 90s nu metal tone just right out of the box for me. It's something super familiar, and it's something that I really like. Alright, that covers off on the dual rectifier. I am going to go through these pretty quickly in order so we don't end up with an hour-long video. Now, part of me wants to jump over to the KSR because I think it's the most similar to this amp, but I think we're going to move down because, you know, simply because how the camera's set up. We're going to jump into this Rev here first. And then I think what we'll do is after we do the KSR last, we'll come back and revisit the Mesa Boogie just so you can kind of hear where we started on all of this stuff. So let's use my KHE switcher here to switch me over to the Rev 100P. Right now I am on the purple channel with no aggression, and again all of the EQs are flat with that gain set about 1 o'clock. So first thing we notice is that that aggression level. It's a brighter sounding amp than the Mesa Boogie, but let's go ahead and kick that into the blue aggression mode, and we'll just do that before we start tweaking EQs. Alright, now again, this amp is kind of very well known for those bright and tight tones, so again our adjustment here would be to bring this presence knob up. We'll take that up to 3. There's actually a bright switch on this amp, and I'm going to turn that on as well. So we're going to still leave those normal EQs in the middle. Now to get this even brighter, I like to pull up these treble and the mids as well, and this again similar to what we did on the rectifier, we can roll out some of that bass. Now, the blue aggression mode is a tighter sounding mode. I would say it has a little bit less gain, not necessarily, you know, the total gain that's available. We still have tons of room left on that gain knob. But the red mode, which we're going to switch into now, it's a bit looser, just a different sound. But I found if you leave the EQs in the same area, they will work well with this. So that's the Rev 100P with the bright switch on both the red and the blue mode. Now, if you're into a darker tone, we can do things like roll off this presence, bring this depth up, kind of move that treble back to the middle. I still want to leave that bass cut and those mids up. Turn the bright switch off, and we will get a nasty, raunchy, darker tone. Personally, I don't believe this amp really needs a boost. A lot of people will still use one with this, and so if I kind of roll this gain back down a little bit and we turn that Dire Wolf back on, this is what the Rev 100P sounds like with the Dire Wolf. So the Dire Wolf or a boost is going to give you a little more harmonic content and a brighter tone, just more gain pushing those inputs. So now we're going to jump into the KSR Juno. This is a dark sounding beast, and it reminds me a lot of the dual rectifier itself. This is the KSR amp based on EL34 tubes. Now, it doesn't have the fizziness, all that's kind of taken out, so that 90s nu metal fizz that is very normal to a rectifier, we're not going to have here in the Juno. And so this is that amp all on 5s. So immediately we get that super dark tone, so we're going to start with the same types of changes we made to the dual rectifier. We're going to roll that treble. I'm almost going to dime that. I am going to pull out some of the bass itself. And on this one we have what we refer to as a top control, which is the presence, and there's a bottom, which is the resonance control. I'm going to roll that back. So we are on the lead mode in the KSR, which it is it's more high gain setting. The clip mode, which we can take a look at here in a second, is more around a nod to a Jose modded Marshall. You are getting more gain and sacrificing some volume, but it's just a very different tonal setting, and those are on two different channels. But what I want to walk you through first is this feel control that we have on the KSR. And so this in the number 6 position is the most open, and 1 being the most closed. Again, this is some kind of, I don't know the mechanics of what's going on in this amp, but it's tightening the low end response on this amp. So this is the amp wide open. All right, I'm just going to click that down while I do some chugs. Alright, this is the KSR in its most tight setting. Again, we could just go ahead and dime those presence controls and the treble knob out. I can take out a little bit more bass and maybe just add a little bit of mids here. And there are indeed bright switches on this. So the bright switches has actually been on the whole time. So this is what that bright switch off is. Alright, so that is the KSR Juno on the lead mode. Now, before we go to the clip mode on this, I'm going to bounce back to the a boosted Mesa dual rec, so you can kind of get a side-by-side of those two tones. And back to the Juno. Now that was the Juno with the Direwolf on because I forgot to turn it off. And this is the Direwolf turned back off. So the Juno is a beastly amp, and it's got, you know, a totally different character sitting next to that 100p. Let's jump into this clip mode. As I move this to channel 2, you will see the LED color change because that's a cool feature. Now, when we work with the clip mode, normally you'll have to turn up the volume in order to get a similar sound, or just similar volume lever, because what the clip mode is doing is allowing you to sacrifice gain, or, you know, volume for gain. So this is with the, let's move that, let's just go through the same exercise, move those treble and presence knobs back to the middle, and the EQs are in the middle. Now that's with the field knob wide open. We're not going to click through all of them, but I'm going to move that down to, say, 3. And then we'll set that down to 1 to its tightest. So now, do the same trick we've been doing this whole time of moving that treble all the way down, rolling back some of that bottom end. And we're going to pause for a moment while I think they are cleaning the streets outside. There's no way you're not hearing this. So yes, I decided to shoot this video in the middle of street sweeping. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so what we've done is we've rolled the some of the bottom end back out, we've boosted that treble, and roll back some mids, and we actually want to scoop the mids on this. You know, one of Kyle's tricks on this is to scoop the mids. I'm going to open the amp back up just a little bit, set it to 3 on the field knob. Now, this channel I think also would take a boost very well if I roll that gain, roll that treble back just a little bit on this, and we add that direwolf back in. And we can even bring up the tone knob on that pedal, bring in some more harmonic content, and we hope we don't clip the input on the Apollo Dunes. Alright, now that is a walkthrough of the KSR Juno amp. We have 1 amp left in this shootout as we go. Hit some of these standby switches, and let's jump into the last amp in that list, and this is the powered by Omega Obsidian amp. This is the newest in my collection, and I did do a dedicated video on this a few weeks back. So this is this amp, again, set all to 5s. And the direwolf was left on. Now, to me, this amp is a bit more neutral, in the middle, right at the 5s, but what I've been doing lately is I've kind of just been boosting that detail just a little bit, and honestly, I've just been kind of tweaking all of these knobs up a hair, the treble a little more, and this has kind of been my go-to tone as of late. So this knob also has, or this amp I should say, has 2 also different voicings and shift modes that will affect these tones. We're just going to turn them both off. And we'll turn the shift knob on. And now we'll turn the voice knob on. So we can give that a little more gain if we want to. I can even turn that detail up and cut the depth even more for an even more brighter metal tone. And that is the Omega Obsidian. Now I'm just going to scoot my butt back a little bit and kind of run through a couple of these all back to back. Kind of left them all in their best position, so let's turn the standby back on for these amps. The boost is turned off. We're going to start back at the Mesa Dual Rec. The Rev 100P. We're going to put the KSR back into the lead mode. And its standby switch is on. And lastly, but not least, the Omega Obsidian. So thanks for tuning in. If you made it through this long video, kudos to you. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, a lot of what I'm doing right now is news related content, but I've had these amps sitting here and it was time for me to put my trash riffs to some good use so you can hear these amps. Be sure to click the subscribe button here and follow me on Instagram as at AnthonyBestMusic, as well as at gear_in_review. So hope you like what you heard. Go ahead and leave all of your comments down below, and I will see you very, very soon.